OGITECH anthem. The anthem. Let's go. The Silicon Valley of Nigeria. Let's be seated. Let's be seated. It is time to introduce our guests. And as shown in the program of events handed to us, the one whom we have gathered here to listen to today is no other one other than the very eminent Professor of Chemical Engineering, Professor Baguji. Shall we all welcome him the northern way? Let us say, Salud Azura. Malami Baba. Salud Azura. Malami Baba. It simply means we welcome you, our great professor. Shall we say it again? Salud Azura. Malami Baba. Our professor who is going to feed us today on this occasion of OGITECH's debut academic lecture is not a new name in the field of academia. Bugaje. So we will invite the registrar of our grade school to take charge of the introduction of guests. Madam, I welcome you here.
Permit me to quickly establish protocol, then do the introduction of the guests. And we have the honor to recognize our Executive Governor in absentia, His Excellency Prince Dr. Dagohabio CON. Can you do that better with your brain? For the one that has given us the platform to be here this morning. We appreciate His Excellency very much. Moving from His Excellency, I have the privilege of introducing to us the acting chairman of our own dear institutes, Ogun State Institute of Technology, BESA, in the person of Evangelist Joseph Kende Akisoji, that is the chairman, acting chairman of our governing council. other members of the Governing Council here present. I move to Alhaji Dauda Afolabi Olokun, Member Governing Council, OGITECH. The next person to him is Mrs. Osho, from Member of the Governing Council representing the Ministry of Education, Science and Technology. From there, I move to our special guest of honor for today, in the person of the Honorable Commissioner of Education, Science and Technology of Ogun State, ably represented here this morning by Mr. Bashir Bisiriyu Abdulhakim, the Zonal Education Officer, Ado-Obi-Ote. You're most welcome, sir. Now I have the privilege of introducing to us the man that is going to be educating us today, our guests and our guest speaker, Professor Idris Bugaji, ably represented here this morning by Professor Diauddin Bashir Azam. God bless you. Thanks for coming. Professor Bugaji is the Executive Secretary, National Board for Technical Education. We are privileged to have his presence in our midst. Thank you, sir. I also have the privilege, before I go to the man that is wearing the cap, want to introduce all principal officers in our midst. We have the acting bossa, Mr. Abdusalam Yunus Olalade is in our midst. We have the acting librarian, Ms. Udi Deborah Ese-Ogena is also here in our midst. We have Dean School of Financial Management Studies, Mr. Odutola Akombi Oluyemi, Dr. Odutola Akombi Oluyemi, FCA. We have the Dean School of Environmental Sciences, Architect Olalekan Ebenisa Ogini. We have the Dean School of Communication and Information Technology, Mr. Ajobi Ewejamiu Olatunji. We have the Dean School of Pure and Applied Sciences, Dr. Fatoki Olayode. We have the Dean School of School of Part-Time Studies, Dr. Bankole Sewanu IC. Following the Dean of Part-Time, we have the Dean School of Engineering, Engineer Omofuma Osaz Igodali. We have Acting Director of School of Communication, Acting Director ICT, Mr. Adebowale Olufemi Ayonusi. We have the Head of Center for General Studies, Ms. Omoye Glory Asuelime. We have the Acting Director of ODFL, Open Distance and Flexible E-Learning, in our midst, Dr. Mrs. Ebisi Aderonke Funke. We also have the Acting Director of Consultancy Unit, Mr. Sovio Eletu Ajibola. We have the Acting Director of Entrepreneurship Center, Mr. Akibadewa Liu Olorunwa. We have all our other HODs in our midst. We have the Dean, Acting Dean Student Affairs, Mr. Aminu Sulaiman Olaiton. We also have Acting Director of Industrial Placement Office, Dr. Bello Akim Olarewaju. We have the Director of Linkages also in our midst, Mr. Olubenga Adeniyi. We have Dr. Ajayi Babashola Jacob in our midst. We also have all our HODs. Please, time will not permit me. All HODs, you are most recognized and welcome. Can you please rise to welcome our people? Thank you. I'm Olajumoke Johnson, the acting registrar. And can you please help me celebrate the man a very unique being, a special man that has brought so much development in these very few months of his being the rector of the Ogun State Institute of Technology in Besa. Is no other. Please, with a standing ovation, can you celebrate this man? Keep clapping, keep clapping, keep clapping as we celebrate Dr. Olúṣèyẹ Abíọ́dún Babátúndé. That is the third fantastic rector of the Ogun State Institute of Technology in Besa. I must tell you that you are very lucky. And this is your own time to have him as your rector. We are also very proud of him. He has brought so much development, so many developments to OGITECH in his very few months in office, and we celebrate him. It may interest you that this is the first time OGITECH will be having annual lecture, courtesy of Dr. Olúṣèyẹ. Can you do better for a man that is changing the look of OGITECH? God bless everyone. Please let's have our seats. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our registrar. Okay, now it's time for the citation of our eminent professor, the one whose voice we have come to listen today. Okay, all right. I'm being told that the rector's speech comes before that. It is my honor to invite to the lectern our able rector, Dr. Olúṣèyẹ Abíọ́dún Babátúndé. Can we give it to this man of honor? Yes, thank you. You're welcome, sir.
Please sit down. Please be seated. Well, before I say any word further, let me give the glory to God Almighty for sparing our lives this day. We planned this, and before our very eyes, this is turning repeat realities. And it is only to Him that we can give all the glory. The Commissioner for Education, Science and Technology, Ogun State, Professor Abayomi Arigbabu, ably represented by the Zonal Education Officer, OTA, the Acting Chairman of the Governing Council, our own highly referred evangelist, Kehinde Akinsoji. You are welcome, sir, to our midst this morning. We are very happy to have you. Distinguished members of our Governing Council, Baba Alhaji Olokun, you are welcome, sir. Mrs. Osho, you are also very welcome. The Executive Secretary, National Board for Technical Education, Cardinal Professor Idris Muhammad Bugaji, ably represented here by Professor Diauddin Bashar Hassan. We welcome you, sir, to our midst. I wonder what the experience is like having to come from Abuja, the center of glitz and glamour, to come to Ibesa. Very serene. We are enjoying our lives here too, and we are happy that we are here. So I wonder how the experience is like, sir. The principal officers of the institution, I greet you all, deans of schools, directors of academic programs, heads of departments, our hardworking members of staff, once again, thank you very much. I appreciate you and I recognize you. My dear students, greatest OGITECH. Okay, you are not used to that yet. Don't worry, by the time we take you through the orientation proper, of course you know how to respond to that. Greatest OGITECH. You don't say that while sitting down. That means you don't want to OGITECH is very great. So you must stand up and of course shout the name. Are you happy to be students of OGITECH? Yes. Are you sure? Yes. Greatest OGITECH. That is it. Great, thank you very much. I really appreciate you. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, because of time, it affords me great pleasure as director to welcome you all to the first annual academic lecture of Ogun State Institute of Technology, BESA, a citadel that is one of the fastest growing polytechnics and indeed a well-sought institution in terms of enviable academic excellence, worthy innovative initiatives, and robust technological education. OGITECH, as we are fondly called, is strategically nestled in the greatest economic hub in Nigeria. It may interest you, our guests, to note that one of the largest free trade zones in Nigeria is a few meters away from our institution. Once again, I say to our dear guests, welcome to OGITECH. Welcome to where the pride of the nation are produced, and welcome to Igbesa, the home of hospitality. I consider it a rare privilege to have the lecture delivered by the custodian of technical education in Nigeria, Professor Idris Muhammad Bugaje, the Executive Secretary of the National Board for Technical Education, who is ably represented today by another round pen in a round hole, Professor Diaruddin Bashar Hassan. On behalf of the Governing Council and the management of the Institute, I warmly welcome you to Ogun State Institute of Technology, Igbesa, Ogun State, sir. Let me hint here that we have patiently looked forward to this lecture, which has been appropriately themed, fostering Nigeria's technological advancement through a virile polytechnic system. I find this topic germinal and well thought out, considering Nigeria's potentialities and determination for growth. There is no gainsaying the fact that technological education remains the surest way for the country to attain technological advancement and industrial growth. Instead of looking down on the polytechnic system, the sector should be wired to be the hub of Nigeria's much desired development. Seminal to China's meteoric rise was its conversion of over 500 universities to polytechnics. The theme of this lecture, therefore, should command sincere attention from the government, the industry, the polytechnic administrators, and of course other stakeholders. This lecture should interest the government functionaries and extract commensurate actions from them. Second, as polytechnic administrators, we should reckon that the commodity that we put out on sale is technical education, which has a close nexus with technological advancement. We will be failing in our responsibilities if our product does not meet up with the contemporary realities and help solve current societal challenges. Third, the teachers in the polytechnic system will be reasonable to acknowledge the need of the learners they have been entrusted with. These are digital natives, and all the lessons and training courses developed for them must be laced with appropriate technological insights and skills. This is the only way to transform our graduates from job seekers to problem solvers and job creators. As a stakeholder in the polytechnic system myself, I have eagerly looked forward to this lecture. Based on the reasons highlighted above too, I invite and implore all the participants to take it seriously and note all the gray areas of the presentation for post-lecture reflections and notes. On this note, I would like to thank most immensely our dear guest lecturer, first for accepting to discuss this important topic with us, and second, for traveling from Abuja, the capital city, to Igbesa. We really appreciate you, sir. We pray for journey mercies back home. Let me also acknowledge the efforts of the committee that has been saddled with the responsibilities of organizing this lecture. I say kudos for your commitment, dedication, and sacrifice. To our distinguished audience, I wish you all a happy listening. God bless you all. Thank you very much.
We can do better for our rector. We can do better, please. Thank you, sir. We want to quickly also recognize some other guests in our midst, Engineer Jize Shoyemi from Ilaro. Thank you, sir, for joining us. We also want to recognize especially our guests that came with representative of the commissioner. God bless you, sirs. Thank you for joining us. We also want to recognize the presence of our union leaders in our midst. Thank you so much. Okay, at the back. We recognize you all. Thank you for joining us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, dear registrar. Without wasting much time, I want to invite Mr. Wale Afuagbe to give the citation of Professor Bugaji.
On behalf of the Commissioner for Education, Science and Technology of the state, the acting chairman of the Governing Council, the distinguished members of the Governing Council, I want to thank my God for blessings and letting me go, na na na. I want to thank my father for support and letting me go, na na na. Lord, I give everything to you, my life and soul, na na na. I want to thank my mom for giving me good life, na na. I dedicate everything to you, my fans all over. Say everything you see, na God they do, and I do everything I can, I know they slow down. Here we do, we run the show, make we dance, make we party.
Sorry, there is a slight adjustment in the program. It is my honor to invite the chairman of the Governing Council to take over the microphone now to add his voice to the color of the day. Let's jam our hands for You're welcome.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I want to seize this opportunity to welcome God bless you, our guest lecturer, my colleagues, members of the council, the rector, all high officials of the institution, and all the students present here today. You know, this is the high table. Am I not right? But maybe you don't know that this is the higher table. Am I right? I want to welcome every one of you. I want to say that I'm really very happy for this particular occasion brought about by our rector. Most of us must have forgotten the name we gave to him. But I'm not going to tell you if you can't remember, because we said it some times ago, that is Rector Olorire Akorede, I think, for bringing this very wonderful program. And I'm very happy for all the members of this community, the students and everybody, for making yourself well present for the program. I thank you very much for this honor, and I want to pray to God that all your efforts in this institution will never be wasted in Jesus' name. I also want to thank, apart from the rector, my colleagues who are members of the council that are here present, Alhaji Olokun, Mrs. Osho, and those that are not here, for all the wonderful things they have been doing since this board was inaugurated by His Excellency, the Governor of the state, Prince Dr. Dapo Abiodun, and also all our staffs, both academic and non-academic. I want to say that I'm very proud of all of you. I recognize the fact that you are doing very well, and that is why our institution will continue to go up and up by the grace of God. So I want to advise that we should sit down quietly because of the caliber of person and the stuff that he wants to deliver today. I'm sure you will enjoy it, and I have no doubt that you will not regret coming for this program. So once again, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I thank you very much for the opportunity granted me for this brief remarks. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. I think it's time for the representative of the Commissioner for Education of Ogun State to give the speech as presented, as sent in by the Commissioner. I invite here Mr. Bisiriyu Abdul Hakim. You're welcome, sir.
Let me first tell you that the Honorable State Commissioner for Education, Science and Technology, Professor Abayomi Aribabu, would have loved to be here personally, but he has another urgent assignment by the governor to attend to. That's why he has sent me to come and represent him. And I'm sure that the rector of this school knows about that. Thank you very much. Speech of the Honorable Commissioner for Education, Science and Technology, Professor Abayomi A. Aribabu, FMAN, delivered at the maiden OGITECH annual lecture theme fostering Nigeria's technological advancement through a viral polytechnic system on Friday, 22nd November 2024. The acting chairman of the Governing Council, distinguished members of the Governing Council, the Executive Secretary, National Board for Technical Education, Professor Idris Mohammed Bugaji, FNSHE, FSESN, C Engineer, Korek, ably represented here by Professor Yaudin Bachir Hassan. Please, with reference to protocol order, I feel delighted to witness this academic and technological exploration that has been brought down to the polytechnics. We are all aware that public lectures, be it inaugural or annual, is commonly carried out in the university setting. This single activity is a signal that our polytechnics are now working in the 21st century. This maiden edition of annual lecture is a testament to the vision and commitment of this great institution in driving conversations that address critical national issues, particularly the advancement of technology through polytechnic system. In today's world, technology drives economic development, innovation, and competitiveness. Nations that have embraced technological advancement are leading in virtually every sphere of human endeavor, ranging from education to industrialization, agriculture, and healthcare, to mention a few. For our country to be technologically developed, it is important to recognize the pivotal role that polytechnics play in shaping the lives in those developed countries. Polytechnics are not merely institutions for learning, but they are hubs of innovations, creativity, and skills development that can equip our youth with the tools to meet contemporary challenges. This can make us conclude that the polytechnic system is a game changer that can incubate groundbreaking ideas and foster entrepreneurship, creating a ripple that can boost our economy and improve livelihoods. There are challenges hindering the effectiveness of our polytechnic system and must be confronted. These include financial resources, public perception, inapplicable curriculum, among others. If all the challenges can be addressed through concerted actions such as curriculum reform, promotion of entrepreneurship and innovation, evaluation of polytechnic status, strengthening industrial partnerships, among others, the nation can create a generation of skilled professionals and innovators that will transform and boost the economy and society at large. Ladies and gentlemen, as Nigeria aspires to level up with technologically advanced nations, the place of viral polytechnic system cannot be underestimated. Thus, we need to remind ourselves of the immense potentials within the polytechnic system, which include industrial revolutionization, potential employees. All these will catalyze sustainable development. Once again, I commend the leadership of OGITECH for this laudable initiative, for it will draw thorough leadership by bringing together experts, policymakers, and stakeholders to share ideas and insights that can inspire innovative solutions, thereby building a robust and responsive polytechnic system that will have the power to drive Nigeria's technological growth. This will mark the beginning of a new chapter of excellence, collaboration, and transformation. At this point, it is the sense of duty that I want to declare open this maiden edition of OGITECH annual lecture to the glory of God and benefit of our educational system. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish you all a fruitful and inspiring session. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. We can do better. The speech was from the the commissioner. Thank you very much, sir. Without wasting time, Mr. Wale Afwakwe, please.
Thank you, sir. On behalf of the Commissioner for Education, Science and Technology, Ogun State, the acting chairman of the Governing Council, distinguished members of the council, KBSC's, my rector, the members of the management staff, the academic board members, my academic colleagues, and the academic community at large. I have the honor to present the citation of our erudite scholar in person of Professor Muhammad Bugaji. He was born some few years, over 6 decades ago in Katsina State. He's a professor of chemical engineering from Ahmadu Bello University. He specializes in energy engineering. Professor Bugaji served with NMP's refinery, Warri. He started his career with the Nigerian paper mills, Jeba, between 1981 and 1983. Energy Research Center is Madam Fodio University. Sokoto, between 1983 and 1988, and his academic sojourn began from Cardinal Polytechnic as lecturer 1 and rose through ranks to become a senior lecturer, and eventually, in his adventure, he became the head Department of Chemical Engineering between 1988 and 1995. He joined the services of Ahmadu Bello University in 1995. 2 years later, he left for University of Malaya, Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, between 1997 and 1999. He returns to ABU Zaria in 1999 as a reader and associate prof, from where he was appointed rector of the Federal Polytechnic Nasarawa in 2000. When his tenure ended in 2004, he proceeded to University of Johannesburg, South Africa, on a year sabbatical leave in the Department of Chemical Engineering. After which, he returns to his employers, ABU Zaria, and served from 2005 through 2008. While at ABU Zaria, he was the founding chair of the Renewable Energy Research Group, which occurred between 2006 and 2008. Head the Department of Chemical Engineering between 2007 and 2008. Dean the Faculty of Engineering between 2008 and 2009. In 2011, he was appointed Director General of the National Research Institute of Chemical Technology, Zaria. On successful completion of his tenure at National Institute of Chemical Technology in 2016, he went for a year sabbatical leave at the Umaru Musa Yar'Adua University, Katsina. And towards the end of his sabbatical leave, he was appointed again as the rector of the famous Citadel of Learning, Kaduna Polytechnic, in 2017. In April 2021, he was appointed Executive Secretary of the MBT. Professor Muhammad Bugaji is a scholar of no mean repute globally. He has over 68 publications, journals, and books, and 64 conference and seminar papers with Google Scholar citations. He has published over 1,000 scholarly papers as of January 2021. Professor Bugaji's major research area is renewable energy, focusing on biofuels. With 5 patents to his name, Professor Bugaji, a current registered engineer, is a fellow of the Society of Chemical Engineers, a fellow Solar Energy Society of Nigeria, a fellow Materials Society of Nigeria. Okay. He has received several awards in his 40 years service to humanity. His intellect yields him vintage of farms that the cowards throw stones to block, while the wise climb to harvest. His academic sojourn is a stint without blemish. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Awale, for the wonderful citation. I now call on our eminent professor standing in for Professor Bugaji. I invite here Professor Udin Bashir Hazan for his citation, to be presented by Mr. Mereno Osu.
Thank you. The Governing Council, Management and staff of Ogun State Institute of Technology will remain ever grateful to Professor Bugaji for delegating Professor Diaudin Bashir Hassan to deliver this lecture on his behalf. Professor Hassan is a thoroughbred STEM scholar, researcher, and academic. He had his early days with science, technology, engineering, and mathematics at Science Secondary School, Kafin, Hausa. Professor Hassan holds a Bachelor of Engineering degree and a Master of Engineering degree, all in Chemical Engineering, and from the highly prestigious Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria in Kaduna State. From there, Professor Hassan proceeded to Malaya University, Malaysia, for his PhD in Chemical Engineering. He has attended and presented his papers at numerous local and international conferences. He is a widely cited scholar with his works published in high-impact journals around the world. Our distinguished lecturer today has worked with Kaduna Polytechnic, Sultan Qaboos University, University of Malaya, and Ahmadu Bello University. He is the former Deputy Director, Chemical Research Institute for Chemical Technology, and a former Research Fellow, University of Malaya. Professor Hassan is a Special Assistant to the Executive Secretary, National Board for Technical Education, Kaduna. He is a Professor of Chemical Engineering, Head of MSDS in Nigeria Atomic Energy Commission, Visiting Lecturer to Chichian University in China, Research Fellow, University of Malaya. He was a Professor in Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria, a sabbatical Professor in CDAB, UK, Director at Federal Ministry of Science and Technology, Fellow of many professional bodies in Nigeria, UK, and Canada. Ladies and gentlemen of the press, the Governing Council Chairman, the representative of Commissioner for Education, Science and Technology of the State, the Rector, sir, Deans of Schools and Heads of Department, all esteemed members of the Academic Board, I present to you today's guest lecturer, Professor Diyaudeen Bashir Hassan. You are welcome.
Thank you very much, MC, for this wonderful introduction and reading of citation. After reading such citation, the hopes of everyone gets higher, so expectation will be higher also. So I will try to do justice to the paper. Before then, even though protocol has been established, but I want to acknowledge the presence of the distinguished personalities here present with us. In no particular order, I want to acknowledge the presence of the representative of the Honorable Commissioner of Education, Mr. Basiriu. I also want to acknowledge the presence of the chairman of the Governing Council and his members of the board here. The indefatigable and dynamic and amiable rector here in our presence, you cannot help but to notice the love that is going around whenever the rector is moving, and I can understand why. You can see new developments around the institution which he was able to accomplish within the shortest possible time, and that also attests not only to the cordial relationship between him and the students, but also with the staff. I can see how the staff are beaming with smiles when they see him. I'm really happy to see such flow going on in the institution. I want to also acknowledge the presence here with us of all the deans, HODs, staff, academic, non-academic staff, and our dear students, OGITECH students. Good morning. I'm here standing to present a paper on behalf of my principal, the Executive Secretary of the National Board for Technical Education. I will try to be speaking in layman's terms so that you understand. When they are introducing and doing the citation, because of your young age, you may not understand how heavy some of the words have been said. When you hear sabbatical professor, blah, 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 you'll be thinking, what is sabbatical? Hi, oh yeah, let's move to the next level. So I will come down to your level, I'll be talking so that you understand, because this lecture is all for you, and it is one of the most innovative things that the rector has introduced, having this inaugural lecture. It serves as a very good platform for interacting with the students, the staff, and also you can have visiting lectures coming from elsewhere to deliver and also share their experiences. When we deliver this lecture, it's not only about the lecture, but along the line, we'll be sharing some experiences that you may not see here in the booklet. And therefore, it is very important anytime you hear of the inaugural lecture, try to come. I'm also happy that all of you are here because I can see the hall is fully packed. It shows I'm addressing a very, very serious gathering, very serious-minded students. So congratulations to you, OGITECH students. Now, the paper is written by the Executive Secretary of National Board for Technical Education, whom you have heard his citation, Professor Idris Muhammad Bogaje. He's a very, very senior personality in Nigeria. I will tell you just two things that will make sense to you. Leave all this sabbatical professor, leave. He is one of the few people that were appointed chief executive positions by 4 different presidents. So you know he's very big. Secondly, he's also my teacher. He also taught me while I was undergraduate, and now I'm a professor. So you can see he's a very, very senior professor. Yes. He will have really loved to come here and address it himself, deliver the lecture. I think he has a very dear affinity and affection towards this institution. For you to have the executive secretary in person wanting to come, only that he had national engagement that have to take him overseas to UK, and he had to travel. And therefore he delegated me to present this paper about fostering Nigeria's technological development through a varied polytechnic system. He has been rector 2 times, and now he is the boss of the National Board for Technical Education. I hope you all know what MBTE means. MBTE is the organization or the agency that has the mandate of the federal government to regulate and monitor all the activities that are taking place in over 700 polytechnics in Nigeria. And he chose to come here. So you can see how big he is and the relevance he attached to coming to this your place. Somebody that is the boss of all the polytechnics in Nigeria. Any polytechnic you see, it is under our purview. Now I will quickly go through the lecture, and I will do it in such a way that it will make sense. Actually, this lecture is to make you understand the relevance of what you are doing here and how it fits into the global market and what you need to do and the challenges that you need to understand for you to be able to find a very good footing in this career that you have taken, which is technical and vocational education and training. So the first thing he did was to talk about the current state of Nigerian polytechnics. There is need for you to understand the current state so that when the paper is going, the presentation is ongoing, you'll be able to understand. And I will try to do it quickly because it's about 10 slides. Under the current state, he's talking about we have issues related to infrastructure and resources, where he talked about that the polytechnics that we have in Nigeria, they have serious issues of infrastructure. And I'm sure you all understand what we mean by infrastructure. And therefore, if you have deficit in infrastructure, you are going to have serious issues related to the delivery of it. I give you a simple example with infrastructure. Infrastructure, it means things like halls, classroom, and the rest. You can agree with me that if you don't have a very big hall like the one you have here, if it is half, will all of you be enjoying this session? You will not, because it is going to be hot. But adequately, you have a big hall that is very adequate, fully ventilated, and that is why you are enjoying it. Possibly, if you go to other polytechnics, you may not meet this kind of big hall with seating capacity to accommodate most of you that are here. He also talked about the curriculum relevance, which I will talk about along the time of line. He talked about industry partnership. It's very critical, industry partnership, because whatever we are doing here in the institutions, we are trying to impact skills. And if you are trying to impact skills and you don't relate with where you want to go and do that work, there is always going to be an issue. And therefore, industry partnership and collaboration is very pertinent. He also talked about funding and support. There is no way anything can be done the right way and the way you want it to be done unless you have the proper funding and you have the proper support. This usually presents a challenge, and in Nigeria we have serious deficit when it comes to funding of these polytechnics and other institutions equally. The next thing he talked about is the issue of the triangle of despair in Nigerian tertiary institutions. There are about 3 things which he mentioned which are hampering the delivery of technical education in Nigeria. The first one he talked about is energy. You will all agree with me that if you are in a polytechnic system, you need energy for all the activities that you do, because most of the activities taking place in polytechnics are done in the laboratories, isn't it? They are done in workshops. And you can agree with me that you cannot go to a workshop or a laboratory and then there is no light, no power, and then you begin to expect the best out of it. There's no way. But the problem is not limited to only polytechnics. It's a Nigerian problem. Because in his paper he's saying that the per capita public utility energy, that is electricity, in Nigeria is only 30 watts. He now gave comparison with other countries in Africa, not even in developed countries. He said in South Africa, it is about 270 watts. You can see the difference. And if you move to Egypt, it is about 400 watts, which means the energy that one person is using in Egypt, about 13 people are using it in Nigeria. So you can see the issues with the energy. The energy is never enough, and our population is big, because we represent about 18% of total African population, and Africa is about 53 countries. You can imagine 18% of that total population is residing in Nigeria, and then the power is not enough. Again, he talked about the issue of insecurity. Recently, we are having challenges back and forth in so many areas, and it's affecting some of our public institutions, particularly polytechnics also. I will give you a simple example, not because I want to mention the state, but it's for you to understand. For instance, in Zamfara, because of all this kidnapping that we are having and like issues related to such insecurities, the enrollment into our polytechnic around Zamfara has dropped down drastically. And it has dropped down to the level of, we are losing about 85% enrollment. And you can see it's a big problem. We are losing more power that we needed to train. Again, he also talked about the funding, which he says over the years, funding of public polytechnics has been falling down drastically, with the value of Naira on a free fall. If these issues can be addressed, he said our despair can become hope, and then the renewed agenda, renewed hope that we will be preaching will now come to light. The next thing he talked about the importance of robust polytechnic system for technological growth. He said there are about 3 things which we must need to do, or things that we need to understand that makes the technical and vocational education very relevant. The first one is skill development. He said polytechnics play a crucial role in providing industry-specific skills, bridging the gap between education and employment and equipping graduates to contribute to the nation's technological advancement. In a nutshell, what he's saying here is that skills development takes place mostly in the polytechnic sector. And I'll give you a simple example. In Nigeria, the tertiary institutions are categorized in three. We have the universities, we have the polytechnic system, and then we have the colleges of education. If you combine the colleges of education and universities, the total population is not equivalent to the polytechnics alone. In polytechnics, we have monotechnics and similar institutions, we have over 700, while in the university, they only have 200 plus. So you can see that the main manpower, the main training of skills is undertaken in the polytechnic sector. And therefore, most of the innovations and researches are supposed to be coming out from here. And also, technological advancement is enhanced in the polytechnic because it is here that through entrepreneurship, jobs can be created. Entrepreneurship relates to teaching students how to stand on their feet, how to understand some business skills, so that when they leave the system, they will be able to stand on their own, get themselves engaged, not to be looking for jobs, but provide jobs by themselves. How do we go about doing that? We need to be reviewing the curriculum, and therefore in his next slide, he's talking about curriculum reform, which means there is need for us to integrate the industry needs into our emerging technologies into our curriculum. In simple terms, what it means is that the curriculum we are using to teach you needs to be reviewed from time to time, and while we are reviewing it, we need to understand what exactly the industry needs. And for you to do that, he made mention of a number of things. The first one, he said you need to do need assessment. This need assessment will allow you to understand what the industry particularly needs. And therefore you now reshuffle and edit and revise your curriculum in such a way that it will accommodate these needs by the industry. And therefore when our students go into the employment, they will find themselves very relevant in the place where they find themselves. And this curriculum review is usually done 5 years. But considering the global dynamics that we are having and the fact that some of the courses that we do changes over time, if you come in to do NG1, before you leave, if you are doing things related to computer, things will have definitely changed. And therefore, our review doesn't wait for 5 years now. For some courses like the ICT, the review is being done annually at most 2 years, so that you'll be able to understand what is happening. We don't want a situation where our students will come and we'll be teaching them hard disks, and then they will go out and see solid state drive. We don't want to be teaching them things that has to do with that big disks that we used to put in our pocket when the world have moved to using flash. We don't want to be talking about USB and then the world have moved into other applications. The next thing he talked about is continuous evaluation. He said there is need for continuous evaluation and monitoring of this delivery of the curriculum. Again, he talked about strengthening industry partnership. As I said earlier in his paper, there is need for strong synergy, there is need for strong collaboration between the industry and the academia. Otherwise, we are going to have skills gap. All these skills gap that you've been hearing been mentioned is as a result of the disconnect between what is happening in the industry and what is happening in the classroom and the academia. And therefore, if there is a strong partnership, strong synergy between what is being taught and what is happening in the outside world, you find that our students will get the proper skills, the right skills. And in that direction, he made mention of several things. Number one, he said there is need for industry mentorship, there is need for job research projects, there is need for internship programs, and then there is need for guest lectures and workshops. Now, let me start from the lower part. He said guest lectures and workshops. You know, usually when you hear guest lecturer, you now begin to think of professor, doctor, and all of that. Sometimes youth in the industry are supposed to be invited, even if they are not professors, they are not doctors. But because they are doing the field work, they are seeing what is happening, they are seeing the emerging trends, they will come and give you lectures, and then you will understand what is happening outside even before you go. And there is need for internship programs, more than this IT that we do. Apart from the IT, you should be able to find some programs that will allow you to go into the industry and do one or two things at a different time. Again, there is need for us to be having joint research projects. Instead of coming just in the institution to be doing research projects because you formulated it, there is need for you to understand what is needed so that you can do a research work that is tailored to address a particular problem in the industry. And therefore, when you finish your research work, it is addressing a particular program or problem in the industry. Again, the erudite professor, the executive secretary, made mention of one angle, which is leveraging technology for enhanced learning and innovation. You know, these days, technology is very much available, and you need to harness it, you need to utilize it. How do you utilize it? We have, in fact, I'm happy in the institution we even have a director of OGITECH, I've had been mentioned. You need to utilize such platforms, because now, instead of spending resources, energy, and time to travel to some areas, you can obtain this knowledge while seated in your own classroom. You can interface with tools that we can teach you and give you something that they have from their own end without you even traveling. In that direction, he said there is need for us to utilize these digital platforms, make it conducive, provide the necessary equipment. That is what he said in the second point. He said virtual reality simulations. He said collaborative learning environments. In collaborative learning environment, he said you need to create collaborative learning spaces equipped with advanced technology, such as video conferencing, interactive whiteboards, and digital tools to foster teamwork and innovation. It's not just you have a hall or you have a classroom dedicated for OGITECH, but you need to have the necessary equipment and tools that will allow you to utilize that knowledge, allow you to utilize that facility. And I'm coming towards the end of this paper. There are three more things he made mention. One, he said, investing in research and development within the polytechnic system. We've been talking about funding issue left and right. But there are ways you can collaborate and get some funding. Number one, he said, research funding, he said, secure dedicated funding for research project grants and scholarships. You know, there are a number of grants that are flying around. You need to go online, you need to check, you need to collaborate with other places where you can have such grants. A lot of grants are being given from different agencies, but you have to understand which ones are there and then you try to assess them. We also have a research infrastructure. He said, invest in state-of-the-art research equipment and facilities, including laboratories, workshops, and testing centers. If you have this one, you can easily get grants. Because some of these grants, before you are given, they need to understand what you have in place before you are given this grant, so that they know what you are looking for, you can utilize it. You don't want to engage in a research that at the end of the day you have to do XRD analysis, you have to do SEM analysis, but you don't have access to where you can do it, and you need to do it real time, for instance. We also have staff development issues. We also have industry collaboration. He keeps talking about industry collaboration because it's key. Second to the last thing he said is about funding and resource allocation for polytechnic advancement. This is beyond you, the students, and sometimes beyond even the staff, because some of this funding comes from the government. We have allocation coming from places like TED Fund, Tertiary Education Fund. We also have from the private sector. Sometimes we can have the private sector giving out some scholarships and grants. You also have international partnerships. Sometimes you need to collaborate with your international partners for you to be able to assess this grant. I remember we have a grant called CARE, that is Canada-Africa grant, which is just between the two continents. If you are in Africa and you have a collaborator in Canada, you can enjoy CARE. I once applied for it and was successful. Then the last thing he talked about resource management. If you have this grant, there is need for you again to be resourceful and prudent in managing these resources. Lastly, he talked about strategies for promoting entrepreneurship and innovation among graduates. It's very key because these entrepreneurial courses that you are doing are the courses that will help you. So entrepreneurial courses are very key because it integrates entrepreneurship courses into the curriculum to teach students about business planning, marketing, finance, and other essential entrepreneurship skills. We also have the issue of incubator and accelerator programs. We also have the issue of innovation competitions. You see, if you are innovative and you know there is a place where you can go and compete, you will always want to struggle to invent something so that you participate in these competitions. This is very important, and it allows competitiveness among students and also staff that are overseeing and monitoring and supervising the students. Lastly, on that one, he talked about networking opportunities. Sometimes you need to network among yourself to understand what is happening in other institutions among your colleagues so that you can see what grants are they accessing, what funding are they getting. And on the last note, he concluded by saying his vision for a vibrant polytechnic system in Nigeria, he said, can be achieved by embracing the strategies outlined that this strategy that he outlined, that Nigeria can transform its polytechnic system into a dynamic engine of innovation, driving technological advancement and contributing to a brighter future for the nation. A thriving polytechnic system will empower graduates to become leading innovators, entrepreneurs, and skilled professionals, ensuring a sustainable and prospective future for Nigeria. In essence, he said it is all of you. Thank you once again.
Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate that. Having listened to the highly enlightening lecture, I'll give opportunities for a session of questions and answers. Even if it is not more than 2, 3, 4, our professor is still here. Because certainly if you ask when he has left, neither our rector nor any one in my personality can answer the question. So Prof is still waiting. Question time. Question time. Question time. Let's have some quiet, please. Let's have some quiet. It's question time from the students. All right.
Thank you, Professor, for such a wonderful presentation. I have, I will call it a burden. I believe Nigeria, the polytechnics are in Nigeria, so most of the problem we are having as a polytechnic is systemic. I believe it's systemic. Whatever happens to the nation, of course, will happen to every facet, every part of the country. And then there is a development also that has also given me a body. We talk about polytechnic and university dichotomy. Why do we rate university higher than polytechnics? Number one. Number two, what is the mindset or how do I put it now? What is the mindset and what is the feeling of NBT about when we celebrate some university, the polytechnic now converting to universities. For example, Polytechnic of Lagos Polytechnic, now is a university, and people think it's something to celebrate. Personally, I feel it is not something we need to encourage. So what is the stand of NBT on celebrating Polytechnic now becoming university? So I think that's a burden in my heart, and I think I want everybody to talk about
it. Sir, would you like to take it one after the other, or okay? I invite you.
All protocols duly observed. My name is I am Dr. Odutola Oluyemi. Prof, sir. From the opening remarks of our director, Dr. Abiodun Babatunde Oluseyi, this country is submerged within so many companies. In fact, it's cited in the industrial hub of the state. And from our needs assessment, we have come up with several areas that we can introduce as local contents into our curriculum. But the challenge we have is with the weights that have been allotted in terms of credit units to some of these courses in our curriculum. And the MBT does not grant us the leverage to tamper with some of these provisions. And for us to produce graduates that will be relevant to our economy, considering the emerging challenges, we need to co-opt these findings from our needs assessment into our curriculum. Prof, sir, how can we handle this? Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Kuchola. All right.
Standing on the existing protocol, sir. Prof, my challenge is always when the MBT, the federal government, comes other level of government, talk of TVS, and they talk of vocationals, and tools and resources that are required for these vocational studies are not there. Even MBT, who happen to be the mother and the father of polytechnics, are not encouraging this institution to come with TVS and vocational programs. Sir, if I borrow from the lecturer's opening speech, he says that the polytechnic is the bedrock, and some states, some country as a whole, close down their university and winding up for polytechnic just because to create vocational skill. But today, in Nigeria, vocational skills are not given rightful place. For instance, in our school now, any of our graduates, we likely go up to 3 certificates now. 1, the normal ND certificate or HND certificate. 2, ICT, what's it called? Cisco certificate. And the third one that is coming on the board, which is robotic certificate for any science program. Now, what is MBT doing to encourage these vocational studies, this vocational skill in polytechnic? Polytechnic is established purely to make skill acquisition the key. Thank you, sir.
Very well. I'll take 2 more. Mr. Akingbade, then Mr. Tajuddin Kaide.
All protocols duly observed. Thank you, the representative of the Secretary of MBT, for the well-articulated lectures. Sir, I want to ask that the students, the graduates and undergraduates too, are not really enjoying the support of government. Okay, judging from CWES and industrial attachment, it is more difficult than seeking full-time employment in Nigeria. I want to suggest that government should come up with a policy whereby every industry will be compelled to take a particular percentage of graduates or undergraduates seeking SWES placements or industrial attachment placements. And for instance, a student that studies public administration, we end up going to learn functional designing in the alternative, and that's what we do encourage them. I said, if you see for placement you don't see, go and learn a skill, go and learn a trade. And now that the issue of industrial attachment is becoming so important that they may not get higher education, that is HND, if they are not certified that they did industrial IT. If government intervention is not brought in, I don't think that can manifest. Anyway, so what is government doing to ensure that? Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much. Mr. Tajuddin.
Thank you very much, sir. Sir, the polytechnic system, yes, we want a viral system. However, education is not an exclusive thing when it comes to funding. The federal government has funded its own, the state funds its own. So the question is, what is MBT doing to make sure that policies are driven in 2 ways? First, looking at institutions that are driven by federal government, where funding is almost there, and institutions that are driven by state government, where many of these institutions need to drive funding themselves. Because if care is not taken, if the same policy is meant or done for both federal institutions and state institutions, we will discover that many of these state institutions will likely go into extinction. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The students now. The students. Let's allow a student, at least for now. I'll come back to you, sir. Yes.
Good morning, students. Good morning, sirs. Standing on the existing protocol, sir. Professor, sir, when you were enlightening us on the previous discussion, so there was a certain point that you talked about polytechnic students having more practical knowledge than the theoretical university students. Now, my question goes thus, that how can polytechnic students bridge the gap between theoretical knowledge and practical skills in Nigeria? Thank you, sir.
Okay. The Prof would like to attend to. All right. Yes. It's important we have. Okay.
Thank you for the questions, and we are debating whether to take all of them so that when I go back, I sit down, we take these ones. But I think it's better we take these ones, and then we take the second batch, which is the last batch. All the questions that were asked are quite germane, and it shows our passion and interest in seeing the TVET sector progress and move to the next level. I will look at the questions as they are. The first one is about the dichotomy between HND graduates or polytechnic graduates and also their counterparts from the university. I was a lecturer in the polytechnic system. I was a lecturer in various universities, more than 5 or 6. I was in University of Maiduguri, I was in ABU, I was in 2 foreign universities in Malaya and also Sultan Qaboos University. So many of them, BUK. So I understand the dynamics in all of them. I understand the content in each of the curricula that is being used to teach. But what I want you to understand is that there are concerted efforts being done now to see that this dichotomy is being bridged. It has been there for a long time. It is a policy issue, but it has been gradually being addressed. I want to assure you that in the not distant future, this dichotomy that you are seeing will be a thing of the past. In fact, in some certain areas, the dichotomy has even begun to. In some certain areas, the dichotomy has even begun to fade away. And I want to rest assure you that in the next few weeks, this dichotomy will be completely abolished. Thank you. In the area of conversion of polytechnics to universities, you know, every country has its priority, and that is one of the discussions we are having with the rector, the ever-dynamic rector, just before we came. About some of the things that we've been doing that are, you know, we can't tell the government is not doing it wrong, but maybe the priorities are not being placed right. We also had similar discussions with the representative of the commissioner on a number of issues that are bordering on this. It's an issue that we are well aware of. It's an issue that is not so going well with the polytechnic, with the MBTE, who is regulating the polytechnic activities. But there are policy issues that you cannot help it but to watch it. 600 polytechnics were converted, 600 universities in China were converted into polytechnic, and you cannot tell us we know better than them. But they understand that if you want to have industrial-based industrial development, you want to have skilled force that will be able to maintain this technological advancement, you need people at that level. I want to believe with the recent change that we have in the government, particularly in the ministry with the coming on board of this new minister, not that the other minister didn't perform, you know, it's social media. But this current minister is so passionate about Tibet. I was with him day before yesterday, I was with him. Within this week, we met like 3 times because we had a function in Tetford where he was there, which I happened to be an LOC member in a national activity. he is so passionate about technical and vocational education. In fact, he has done so many things that I will not tell you now, but I was able to share with some of the members on the high table things that he is doing to ensure that the TVET sector moves to the next level. And additionally, the tide is very okay with us now. The Honorable Minister of Education, he was a personal physician to the president. So if he is taking care of his health, I'm sure he has a very good listening ear to anything that he will take. And I rest assure you, there is no way you can meet the minister. I only met him 3 times, but in all these 3 times that I met him, he always talked passionately about the TVET sector. So I want to rest assure you that we are very optimistic. The TVET sector, the polytechnic sector is going to witness tremendous changes very soon. Another question that came is about that this polytechnic is sited in industrial hub, and there is this challenge related to looking at revisiting the curricula. I want to categorically say there is no polytechnic that on its own will come and change curricula. Otherwise, we have 700 plus almost 800 polytechnics now. You can imagine if each polytechnic will just look around its neighbor and see what it needs to be done, and then they will change the curriculum. I rest assured you, if that is allowed to be done, in 1 year, the whole curriculum will be changing. What is being done here in OGITECH will be entirely different than what is being done at Ramat Polytechnic in Borno. It will be different from what will be done in Enugu State Polytechnic. It will be different from Kaduna Polytechnic. So we have a unifying platform, which is the MBTE, which regulates how this curriculum comes about. There are several steps if you want to review the curriculum. There are several steps if you want to develop a curriculum. These steps are sacrosanct, we have to follow them. But it doesn't mean we are closing our ears to what is need to be done. This curriculum, I just said now, in the presentation of the Executive Secretary, that we are reviewing curriculum frequently now. Unlike before, there was a curriculum for a particular course, I don't want to mention it. It took, since 1989, it has not been reviewed. Imagine graduates from that program using a curriculum of 1989. Most of you now were not born. I hope you are getting me, and the world has changed a lot. So the current Executive Secretary, because he's very dynamic, he is ensuring that this curriculum are reviewed frequently. Now, to answer your question specifically, what the board is going to do or what it is doing, what we are doing is that we are receiving inputs, not only from the academia, but even from the industry. The current Executive Secretary, Professor Idris Mohammed Ogaji, has a listening ear and has mechanisms on ground that whenever we see any input that needs to be incorporated, we always find way of fast-tracking incorporating it, but using the regular and laid down protocols of doing it. There has to be critique, there has to be final critique, and then there has to be validation of that curriculum. This is something we've been doing around the year, round the clock. And I want to assure you, if there's anything new, especially when I came here, I understood that we are immersed around us is industrial hub, a very big one. So if there's anything to be done, we are likely to look at it and see how we can do it in such a way that our students come out with the right skills. We also have the issue of dodging sideways and what the government needs to do. Maybe it needs to come up with policies in such a way that it will mandate industries to take a certain percentage for sideways and things like that. Well, you have to understand that you can force a horse, is it a donkey, to the river, but you can't force him to drink the water. So if you say the government should come with policy that it will tell every industry to take 5% for sideways of its workforce, they will allow them come and then they will just put them in one place. They will not be useful. I'm telling you, they can do it. So what we need to do is to find a synergy, to find a platform that the industry will understand that when these students come for sideways, it's win-win for them. You can be assigning them some tax free of charge because they are going for their sideways. So this can be done diplomatically, tactically, and you have a very good rector who has brought development to this institution in the 1 year that he has been here, and I'm sure he's going to continue on that path to see how we are doing. I understand that about 11 students are in even one single establishment, so you can imagine. And if you are employing 11 toddlers of service, so gradually things can stabilize, but you can never force the industry because they are private to say they have to take a certain percentage. But it's a good suggestion. If it is in China, maybe they can do it. But in Nigeria, the companies are owned by elites. The last question on this is about what the MBT is doing to see that about the issue of conversion, right? What we are doing about conversion. I jotted it, but you know the eyes are coming. Please, who said the last question? Okay, I remember. Yes, he's talking about bridging the gap between practicals and theory. Let me assure you, what is happening in the polytechnics is to your advantage. It's to your advantage because you have more practical knowledge than theoretical knowledge, and it places you at a very pedestrian level of advantage. And you want to throw that away? You want to have more theory? How? No way. I think it's better we stick to having more practicals, more hands-on training, because it gives you more employability. Let me tell you, if you have candidate A and candidate B, and I have a factory that I'm producing pure water, and this guy has 70% understanding of how I operate, and this guy has only 30%, who do you think I will employ? The person with the 70, because I don't have to teach him much. But the guy with the 30% practical knowledge, when he comes, it means I have to add 40 more to him to come up to that level. And that is when you begin to see induction courses, training courses, and all of that. So please and please, be happy with yourself, be proud of yourself, and that is what makes you skilled graduates. I think this is the last question before we take the second part, right? Oh, please give me the mic.
Mr. Tajuddin Kende, where are you? Can you please re-echo the question?
Sir. All right. What I ask is, funding of the Federal Polytechnic. Okay, sir.
Okay, I jotted his question on this place, and I'm looking on the white paper. Actually, he's talking about funding. You know, we have different types of polytechnics. We have those from the federal, and then we have those from the state. And then each of them is receiving funding differently and the rest. You know, the state governments, as you are seeing them, they are very powerful. They have autonomy. So if they want to do things, they can even do things more than what the federal polytechnics are getting. Why? Because the system that we are operating now, it gives more room for the federal government, and therefore you are seeing better things going to the federal polytechnics. But my problem is, if this system changes, and I'm not advocating for regionalism, if each of the region now is allowed a certain autonomy, I'm telling you the state-owned institutions will have better money than the federal institutions. And at the rate at which we are going, I'm not saying we are disintegrated, but there is serious clamor for regionalism. Now, if that comes on board, like in this, we are in Southwest. In Southwest, the states in the Southwest, they have a consortium. The rep of the commissioner knows. No region in Nigeria has such consortium. Do we have? And you are telling me you want to go back to federal? Hey, by the time this regionalism takes place, these consortiums are very strong. In fact, let me give you a simple example. There is no region, there is no state that has power on airports. But the Southwest states have been able to form a consortium, and they have a very large chunk percentage in airports. I hope you are getting me. It's very easy when this regionalism takes place, more funding will go from the states to the state-owned establishments, because they will be having more funds than the federal government. It is only the region that will now be given the federal government, not from the federal government now going to the states. So if that happens, you now begin to beg to go back to the system that is here. So thank you so much. We take the second part.
All right, sir. Second batch of questions. Dr. Fatoki, you lead that. Please listen, for our Muslim faithful, I've been told that there's arrangement for Jumats.
Thank you. Let me stand on existing protocol. I want to appreciate the guest speakers. They have spoke very well on those topics given to him to break it down to smaller units where everybody will understand. But I have a question here. My professor, the question is that if you look at some of the companies around us here, we always call them engineer. To my own understanding, they are just a technical graduate from their own country being imported to Nigeria to do the work we are expected them to do. Coming back to polytechnic education in Nigeria, I discovered that some of these polytechnic graduates are no longer interested in coming to acquire knowledge on technical education here because they believe that yet they are no longer a graduate until they do conversion to have their BSc. I want to inform you that when you leave this place, you should tell our MBT official that what can we do to make polytechnic education remain polytechnic education in Nigeria rather than converting some of the polytechnic education to university system. Because in Nigeria or every part of the world, when you look at the level of management, we have the first level of management, middle level of management, and top level of management. We need these people at the middle manpower. If they have left the polytechnic education on converting them to university, what is going to happen to some of our industries around us? I want you to go back, inform your boss, what can we do to make Nigeria polytechnic education remain polytechnic rather than converting them to university system? Thank you.
All right, we take that as the first question in the second batch. Who else? Questions? Okay. All right.
Mr. Chairman, sir, permit me to stand on all existing protocol. My own is not a question, but a contribution. Having been a product of the polytechnic system and a registered engineer with a PhD, I think I understand the two sides of the coin. The director, sir, my contribution is to the students. I've changed my binocular now to students and not to staff. And let me say this to the student, and I will keep on to beg the rector. You are the future of Nigeria. And inside of you are so many innovations. So I want to beg the rector through the director of entrepreneurship. Please go to him with your innovations and let's turn this innovation into what we can all enjoy. Inside of them is AI. Inside of them is robotics. Inside of them are great inventions that we have never seen. Please, not minding how stupid the idea is, accept it from them. The whole world converged. Prof, you can understand. In 1903 or 1909, and all scientists and engineers said no metal can fly. That was the conclusion of the conference. The same year, two bicycle repairers, the Wright brothers, invented the first flying metal. No idea is stupid. Come up with idea. How can we better this school? How can we better our own life? And please go to the director of entrepreneurship development or the man in charge of the innovation center. Go with your ideas and let us work with these ideas. The future belongs to you and you can start now. The Facebook you are using was developed inside the school. Google was developed by two friends from a school. So you can start something now that can change the whole world. And I want you to take advantage of this opportunity that the rector has created to be a better person. Let me tell you something. There is no institution that is better than the Polytechnic worldwide. Forget about whatever is happening in Nigeria today. Whatever we are seeing now is a product of the World Bank. coming to Africa to tell us to disregard technical education, and that is why we have found ourselves. And they did that with one premise, so that we can depend on them technology-wise. Please, whatever you are learning, whatever you are studying, go and acquire the skill. The world needs you. And I will tell you, you can never go jobless. We are supposed to be a job creator. Finish your study, start your own company, and employ university graduate to work for you. Thank you.
I'll give it to you, sir.
Let me respond to the final part of the question. Even though one question is a contribution, one of it is contribution, the other one is even though I didn't like the way it was framed that I should go and tell my boss, I think it's wrong for you to tell me to go and tell the executive secretary. You are talking to the executive secretary of MBTE. All the polytechnics are under us, and you are telling me I should go and tell him. It's wrong, absolutely. Please don't repeat it again. The fact that I don't think if you have a, how do you call it, the executive secretary of secondary schools in Ogun State, and he comes and you are the headmaster, not head, what do you call him? The senior master in that secondary school, and you tell the person that came who's envoy to go and tell the executive secretary where all the institutions are under him. I think it's wrong. But I'm not taking it personal. That is why I'm just telling you it's wrong for you to address me in person that I should go and tell my boss. I won't tell him, but I will answer the question. What he is talking about is actually a contribution that can be addressed. He's talking about two things. One of them is we are having Chinese coming here, and they are doing some work that we are supposed to do, and they are calling themselves engineers. Please clear audience. 1 minute, please. We are having them, they are calling themselves engineers, and they are taking our job. It's very correct. Let me tell you, it's not only the Chinese that are taking our jobs. The Indians are taking our jobs, and it is our fault. Dangote refinery, Dangote brought 11,000 artisans, apprentices to work on his refinery, 11,000. Where are we? But the issue is there are some specific skills that we need to do, that we need to know in addition to what we are having. And that is why in this school, in addition to an ND in computer science and the rest, even though it has been unbundled at higher level, you still need the Cisco certification. Because when you go for employment in ICT, sometimes that Cisco certification is needed in addition to your diploma certificate. There is another qualification which is called NOS, NSQF, National Skills Qualification Framework. Under it, we have what we call NOS. Instead of using curricula to teach students, we are using National Occupational Standards to teach students. Now, this sort of certification is what sometimes is needed in multinational projects. And therefore, along the timeline, I'm sure this institute, again, will embrace this NOS, NSQF qualifications so that you can get smaller jobs and some big jobs using this certification. Not only the Dangote refinery, which has finished, we still have other projects that are ongoing in the nation as I'm speaking to you now. One of it is the AKK gas pipeline project, which is a Trans-Saharan national project that is coming from Ajakuta, a 614-kilometer pipeline that has been laid where gas will be transported up north through some states, Kogi, Kaduna, Kano, then later it will be expanded to all the way to Europe because they want to transport Nigerian gas to there. But the first phase is what we call AKK. It is at the verge of finishing, and it is going to give 50,000 jobs. But we are not even ready to take some of these jobs. And that is why when it is about finishing, you begin to see Chinese Indians taking over our jobs. For the fact that they are calling themselves engineers is not a problem. We know they cannot come here and say they are engineers. Even the roadside mechanic is calling himself engineer. So, except you come and claim in official cycle that you are an engineer, I didn't think it's a problem. The last contribution that was made by Dr. Jide, a very good friend of the board, a very good friend of ours, a very senior personality, because he is the Nigeria focal person for a very